Hi, in this video we're going to show you how you can use our fully general Java Autograder to write your own problems. So the problem we're going to write is one where there's an existing rectangle class and the student has to go and add a getPerimeter function to this class. So we'll make our problem, we'll say rectangle getPerimeter. Okay, and so what we're going to do here is we're going to create an exercise. That's sort of our more general format, and we're going to make it in Java, and we're going to make it using our console program. So then we create the item, and we'll write our description. So write your own public method for the rectangle class to calculate the perimeter. The method should be called getPerimeter and should return an int. Great, so there's our description. Now what we'll do is we'll go make our starter code files. So first I'll make our rectangle tester.java, and then we'll also make a rectangle.java class. Okay, so we're going to give the students basically the starting code for this rectangle.java class, and I'm just going to write that out quickly. So a rectangle has a width and a height. Then we'll be able to make a rectangle given the width and the height. Okay. Then we'll also add a few extra getter methods, public int get area. We'll add public int get height. We'll add public int get width. And then we'll also add a toString. Okay, great. So this should be good, barring any typos, and I'll go and set the solution code as well. So rectangle tester is just a test program where you can test out a rectangle. So that's the problem. And then I'll go and I'll just view the item to start off. Okay, great. So now if I create a rectangle, we'll test it out. Rectangle R equals new rectangle, say 10 by 20, and let's try printing it out. Great, and then let's print out the area. Okay, great. And so now what we want to do is we're going to write a problem so that the student will go and add a getPerimeter method, and then we want to write the Autograder code to test that method. So what we'll do is we'll go down here to the Autograder section and click Add Autograder. Okay, so this pops up a bunch of template files, and this is our most general, most advanced version of the Autograder. Basically, you can write whatever Java code you want to test the Java code that the student wrote. So what we basically do is we just run the file grader. We run the main method from grader, and then we just sort of print out the grader at the end, and then grader will basically properly hook in the test to the UI. So there's a lot here. If you want, you can check out the full documentation for how it all works, how the Autograder works, and you can really customize it however you want here, and the hooks are really minimal. Basically what's going on in Autograder is you can either add a test case or test if something's equal, and then that will basically output a JSON that actually displays it for the user. So those are the implementation details. You don't really need to know how those work, though you can dive fully into those. The main idea is that you write your tests here, you call a couple simple methods on grader, basically assert equal or add test, and then at the end you just print out the grader and it's all properly formatted. So I'm going to show an example of how you would do that with our get perimeter problem for the students. Okay. So we'll leave this line intact and we'll go and test out the grader. So the first thing we need to do, because we're customizing our grader, is we need to create a solution file. So what's going to happen here is, we'll take all the grader files, we'll take all the student files, and we can also use our solution version. So the solution version will be called rectangle solution.java. Great. What I'll go do is I'll take our existing rectangle class, go put it into rectangle solution, and update it so it's correct. So rectangle solution. And so that's good. And the solution will include this, get perimeter, and the get perimeter method basically will return 2 times the width plus 2 times the height. Okay, so that's the solution. That's the solution. And now in Grader, we're going to test these. Okay, so I'll say we'll make a rectangle for the student, and we'll make a rectangle solution for the solution. Great. So we'll start by saying student equals new rectangle 5, 6, and solution equals new rectangle 5, 6. So this is our first test that we're going to do. And so we'll say test perimeter on 5 by 6 rectangle. Okay, great. And so this is actually the only line of code that you need to hook into our Autograder. So we type grader assert equal, and note you can use assert equal or you can use add test, both documented, but we'll just use assert equal. So we'll say, we'll test a 5 by 6 rectangle. And what do we want to test? We want to test if student.get perimeter is equal to solution.get perimeter. Okay, and there you go. That's our first test. Now we will make another test. Test perimeter on 10 by 2 rectangle. So I'll say student equals new rectangle 10 by 2. Solution equals new rectangle. Oops, made a small typo here. That should be our rectangle solution. 10 by 2. And then we will add our assert. So we'll say we'll test a 10 by 2 rectangle, comparing the student to the solution. And so just to see what method this is calling, I'll go back to the documentation, and you can see that in Autograder there is a assert equal method. And so basically the assert equal method gives the test name, then the student output, the solution output, the message if they pass, and the message if they fail. So we've got to add those last couple parts. So student output, solution output, and then message if they pass, we'll say great job. If they fail, we'll say oops, not yet. So you can customize those messages really, really easily. We'll do that as well down here. We'll say nice or not quite. Okay, then we will make one more test. So we'll say test perimeter on a we'll say 8 by 13 rectangle. So I'll copy this and modify the test. So this is 8 by 13, 8 by 13, modify the name, 8 by 13 rectangle, and then modify our message. Okay, so there you go. That is how we write a grader. You can basically write whatever you want here. You can write your own code. you can use any if statements, other methods, other files you want. This is just showing it on a simple example, but the sky's the limit in how you can use this grader. And it's really easy. There's just one method to hook into the UI. So I'll click Save Autograder, and then we'll go and view the item and test it out. Okay, there you go. So there's two tabs here. There's the Run Code tab and then the Grading tab. If you run the code, it'll run our main program, just our tester program. And then the grading code will actually run those unit tests. So the student would need to go and add this method, as explained in the pop-up right here. And then we can write an implementation. So let's get it wrong. First we'll say 2 times height plus width. So that's not right. So we'll click grade code. And you can see we expected the result, we got a different result. So we're not quite right, but we'll fix it. Try again. And there you go. You can see basically our fully custom Autograder code is running. The Autograder tests are hooking into the UI. We're testing the student code that we wrote here against our solution code. And basically you can use this to write whatever types of graders you want. So we hope you get to play around with this tool and use it in your classrooms.